All right, welcome back to The Devil in Detail, the Grendel Reread podcast. I'm Eli.
And I'm Ben, and this is our 62nd episode. Woo! It's
We are
Grendel
back.
Volume 2, number 15, The Devil Inside, Issue 3, Part 3 of 3, BLS, the finale.
My dude.
Yeah.
I pulled everything out this week, the two different trades. There's a Kamiko trade and the Dark Horse trade. I just wanted to kind of like look through everything, see what was going on. And yeah, this is, I mean, what an amazing 3-issue run. And it's really the end of the like personal Grendel until we get to, until we get to Prime. It's the end of like
shift. We'll have another huge shift after this.
Huge shifts.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The next couple issues, like you don't even know who to follow. It's like, who are we even rooting for? It's amazing. We'll get to that then. But first off, Ben, what you been up to, guy?
I had a good week. I did my favorite thing that's not comics related on Friday, which is that I saw Dead and Company. City Field in Queens. I've been going to host Jerry Garcia Grateful Dead shows for 20 years, which is crazy, which is more than a third of that band's existence, which is wild. And that was the Dead was the first thing that you and I bonded over.
For sure.
Like we were both comics guys, and then we realized that we were into that, and that was sort of how our friendship started, which is
really blossomed. I was like, you love the Dead and Grendel? Like, who are you? We look the same. We're both Jewish males, almost 40, with beards and long hair. Jesus.
Yeah, I had a really good time doing that. It's like I don't know what to say. I see old heads complaining about the current lineup. I hear my brother-in-law saying I won't listen to anything after 1977. And it's just like the Wagners, like it's all gravy for me. Like
right.
I'm almost an apologist, or to the point, it's like with Frank Miller, where it's like if Frank Miller turns out a dud, as long as it's not like racist, like I'm interested in seeing what happens. Exactly. When they fuck up, it's amusing to me because I've heard them not fuck up. I've heard them do amazing things, but no one fucked up, and it was someone died during the show, but
which is crazy,
which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And it was very good. It was
it's one of those things you got to see live. Like I'm not gonna go put a Dead and Company concert on the tape deck or something like that, but but you definitely want to see it live.
Yeah. So I took my friend. So I have a buddy from high school. We met in Jewish youth group in AZA. So also like 20 plus years ago. And it was his second show ever. His father-in-law died, and that was one of his favorite things. And so it's like his way of connecting with this person who meant a lot to him and all that. And he loves it. And I gave him his first tie-dye. I made a tie-dye for him. And
nice.
We're in the shakedown street, and he's like, it's a very interesting human zoo. It's it's like everyone's a dirtbag, but like kind of in the best way possible. And I was like, kind of,
I guess so.
Interesting way to put it. I had grilled cheese on a donut. And
wow.
It was wonderful.
Beautiful.
If only you had innovated the donut. If only when you were doing grilled cheese on tour, you had brought donuts along.
I thought the Cajun seasoning was enough. It wasn't.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, that was what I did. Comics, tie-dyeing. I'm prepping for a major round of teaching. I just landed a class teaching in the Master of Fine Arts program at the New York Film Academy.
Oh, great.
I'm teaching a drawing class.
Awesome, dude.
Which is great because previously they would give me 3 hours once with those kids to give them all storyboarding knowledge.
All the knowledge.
All the knowledge in here in 3 hours. Which there's at least 6 hours of knowledge.
At least of 6 hours.
So they gave me like a shit ton of classes to like cover all that stuff.
Dude.
So I'm just trying to figure out like how everything's gonna work and
get your curriculum in line.
It's good. Yeah. So I'm just trying to remain focused on Oh Fuck Why, which I've got like 2 pages to pencil, 4 pages to ink, and the second issue's done. So I would like to be able to move that rock before I get too much into anything else. Yeah. What did you do this week?
Well, one thing that we both did is the Proof of Arcane came in, which is fucking huge. Yeah. So cool. Cosmic Lion Productions' first, true production that I didn't, work on or have a piece in. So that's very cool. We're working to get it placed in stores. Your Midtown Comics, your Collector's Paradise out here, comics in between. If you have a local comic shop you'd like to see Cosmic Lion Productions presented in, hit me up, Eli at cosmiclionproductions.com. And
if you're a retailer of any sort and you'd like a free PDF, also send an email.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to send it out to get it out to people however we can. Before I dive deep into my week or whatever, I want to send a couple shout outs to some peeps. These are people who are getting a copy of the zine. Some people who have sent me their address already, but if you haven't sent me your address and you left the 5-star review on iTunes, commented on the YouTube, email me your mailing address, Eli at cosmiclionproductions.com. Shout out James Haney and Brock Collins. Both those guys sent me their addresses already. Shout out to Ralph Jenkins, who elucidated a little bit more about Bob Pinaha, the letterer, who is doing an amazing job in these books. And I realize I'm already friends with on Facebook, which is awesome. Maybe we can get him on here one time, because I think he did a lot of lettering for Kamiko and a lot of lettering for May.
He does that thing that I love that we were talking about with Arcane, which is where the lettering interacts with the art.
Exactly.
And you got to put a lot of work in to make that happen.
Yeah. And you got to be, have a handle on your craft to take it to the next level like that.
For sure. This is the Grendel zine, by the way. This is the Devil in Detail exclusive Grendel zine that has rare art by everyone you love.
Oh my God. It's amazing.
Plus us.
Plus us. And shout out Mark Akey, who is always commenting and talking to us. And shout out Matt, who sent us a bunch of answers to questions that we had asked in the last couple episodes. So
guys, it's always so nice when you guys, being creators and listeners, when you guys reach out to us and let us know that you're enjoying the show, especially when you're old heads who are around back in the day. That means a lot to us. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So thank you all.
Should we read Matt's stuff now, or do you want to read it when it comes up?
Let's do that wild Laserdisc intro, Grendel it up, read Matt's very informational response.
All right.
Vivat Grendel! It's like the devil is my best friend. On the roads with the pen to the fork end, or till time end. Like Orion, Jupiter, my kin, bloodline private. We control the whole shit. The wolf won't beef, then we feast off the rip. Behold the devil in detail. Behold the devil in detail.
All right, we're back. Thanks again to Madison Laserdisc for that great intro. And thank you so much, Ben, for jumping the gun on the intro and not letting me finish my week.
You're very welcome.
It's all good, dude. The only thing I was going to say is that the Ween zine, it has a second print, and it is back on sale at theweenzine.com. So if you're interested in Ween, interested in art, and interested in great stuff, and hey, Ween played their first show back on last night. It was amazing.
That's great.
Yeah, someone filmed the whole thing, and I was watching it here as I was working on generating graphics for this here podcast last night.
That's great.
Cool. All right. Kamiko, volume 2, number 15, Grendel. Oh boy, we start off.
What did Matt tell you first off?
Okay, yeah. Okay, all right. So let's read what Matt said. All right, so here we go. Hey guys, I wanted to clarify a few things for you based on the latest episode. Yes, I colored the first issue of Bernie's run with Joe Matt providing some assistance. Then Joe took over as the sole colorist based on the template that I'd established with that first one. Pretty seamlessly too, based on Ben's confusion. Yep. Those little color spots and glitches you're noticing were a result of this being done in the old school flat color method that was the standard norm for years and years. This involved the colors being done on Xeroxes. These were merely guides, not originals per se. Each and every area of color had a notation in the margins of the Xerox sheet, labeling the color with its 4-color designation, i.e. C4, Y6, M2, K3. That's 4 cyan, or that's yellow 4, cyan 6, magenta 3, K meaning black 3, indicating the saturation level for each printing color, which then added up to printed color. Again, that had to be done for each and every colored area with arrows printing to the correct spot. It was laborious as fuck and no fun, which is why there weren't a lot of exceptional colorists way back in the day. Oh, that makes sense. Generally, they were housewives and such, right? These are people at the coloring house doing it, not like an in-house Kamiko person, right?
No, he's saying that people like Tatiana Wood or Glynis Ween
were
doing those codes, and then you would send them off, and someone at the coloring house would I mean, it's even less fun for that person. It's like cut the thing.
But it was less of an art and more of kind of like a
production,
clerical type of
Yeah, it's funny because like you know who's really is Klaus Janson did a lot of fantastic analog color, but I think that's because he had a ton of energy and it was like his work and he really knew what he needed. And I think that Joe is doing. Joe does a pretty similar quality type job.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so
is that it?
No, there's one more.
There's much more.
Two more huge paragraphs. Thank you, Matt. It's huge. It's huge. Okay, so the color separation plates were then produced by an outside company that specialized in that service. For years, former DC inker Murphy Anderson ran the main service for the industry, and that's who Kamiko used for their books. This process was basically technicians hand cutting the various color layers in order to make the printing plates. As a result, there was always a lot of small glitches where one plate didn't quite match up with another. We see that all the time. Since we were using really oddball colors for this run compared to industry standards, which were usually quite bright and primary forward, these small snafus showed up much more distinctly than in a Marvel or DC book, right? And that's what happens when you're
makes perfect sense.
Going out on a limb and pushing the limits of this art form, the coloring. You're going to get a little slippage because
but there's so many happy accidents that
I agree
within it.
Right, and especially in this book where everything's kind of like frantic and in his head and distorted perspective, like any glitches is like perfect. All right, last one here. When it came time to reprint these at Dark Horse, we didn't have access. Oh, okay, we were really wondering this. We didn't have access to the original printing film, which had been lost or destroyed when Kamiko went under. So the Dark Horse reprints were produced by breaking down actually printed issues from the Kamiko run, scanning those, and then doing a decent amount of digital tightening and cleanup to get them print ready. Wow. You'll notice some moire patterning dot screen effect here and there in some of the color areas of the Dark Horse versions. That's due to it being scanned from pre-printed material. Oh, interesting. Specifically flat color printing. You don't get quite the same distortion when you scan painted color work.
Yeah, wow. Sometimes it has kind of a weird, it just looks weird sometimes, you know.
Right, it does. Yeah, so like, you know, usually it's an update because they can scan directly from the color, you know, plates and stuff like that.
They're scanning off of a comic book.
Right. They're doing like exactly what I would do if I was
and so I guess with those scenes where they changed it from those like muted like greens to oranges,
right,
that it was just like a hue.
Right, like it had to be done in order to make like the blacks legible or something like that. They had to like boot up. They had to like, okay, awesome. Matt, thank you so much for chiming in and thank you so much for answering our questions. Hopefully we can get you back on the cast very soon.
That was great. Thank you, Matt.
All right, so we open up 5 years of quality publishing. Kamiko, the comic book company, the comic company.
I was curious why their 3 Robotech titles were sort of scattered throughout that list. That was the one thing I noticed.
Because there's a regular series, a mini series, and a one shot or something. I don't know.
I mean, it must have been good. They had 3.
I think that was their flagship book. I think that was one of their bigger books. Yeah. All right, so we're back in here. Okay, one thing I want to quickly say is like I read this one this week kind of in a funny way because like I had to go to the doctor. I got a physical and my I'm almost 40 checkup. And so I was reading it on my phone through the Comixology and doing the guided thing. And it actually works really well for this book. It's frantic. It kind of, shows you different places. It zooms in, and I really liked reading it that way this week. So shout out Comixology for the guided.
Does it sort of like whip pan across?
Yeah, it moves across, and it kind of like guides you across the page, and it's an interesting way to read a comic like this that relies so much on like where your eye is going to be.
Right, and then especially those like the note paper pieces like filling the screen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because like when I was reading this, there were a few times where I was like, this is not easy to read.
This is not easy to read at all.
And in the same way that Batman Grendel is occasionally not easy to read because it's so dense.
Right.
Or
but I
Devil
guess
by the Deed, and I can sort of imagine I don't need to imagine. I have friends who have looked at these books and said, I don't know if I have like the patience to read this. And I say, fuck you.
Right. You got to click your mind over a little bit and then embrace it as, like a hybrid of a novel and a comic or something. And just like, buckle in for like, the denseness.
You got to embrace it. I mean, that's the Cerebus thing.
Yeah. Matt, your density has brought me to you.
Yeah, your
the
density. I am you're my density. This is cool. All right. So
so we're coming in
classic shots.
And we're really honing in on your boy in this one on Brian, but also on
Wiggins.
On Wiggins. Yeah, sorry, my brain farted.
And it's funny that like at the end, just like with the mugger, how like his last 2 panels, like the design really gels and like, oh, that's who the dude is. Wiggins sort of goes through that too, where it's like Bernie not finally, but like Bernie kind of puts his like the finishing touches on how he wants this character represented.
Right. And it may be that as the focus of the story shifts from like Brian's perspective to Wiggins's perspective, that the like reality shudder is kind of like, they rack focus from like Brian's distorted view. They rack focus to like this reality that Wiggins is seeing or whatever.
And then the only Wiggins we get after this is him on the beach, like old and shirtless, or is
there's an adventure in A1, the A1 thing that I think we're going to touch on next week.
Cool.
That's very, very interesting. And I hadn't read it till recently. And it's, it adds just like one more, I'm not going to get into it. We'll get into it tomorrow, or next week, but it's really cool. Okay. So yeah, I mean, we just moved in on Brian here. He's just like, had it, on this first page, everything is dark in his world, given the correct. Good.
He compares himself to a gun that's being directed by the terror, by Grendel,
by the force, the Grendel force.
Yeah, really, really cool.
All right, so next page we see, he's again fighting, and he's like a gun he's like on a short fuse, he's blowing up at people, and he's really like, he's going off on people, and he's not like he's as far from the Brian as we first knew as can be. He's like speaking his mind.
Brian is like focused on being professional and courteous.
Yeah,
and that's who he is.
Right, and as the panders draw him, he's got the big like cartoony baby puppy dog eyes, like he's like dreamy eyed and now it's just all sunglasses, and he's yelling at people. He's like, don't touch me, he's like jumping off at people. He's like, he feels like the whole goddamn city's the sweaty goddamn palm that's gripping my body so goddamn tight. And then immediately Wiggins is like, hello sir,
for him. Yeah,
he's just waiting.
Just talking about the case, just chilling out, waiting to talk to you about the case.
Man, but each time just saying that the name Christine grinds Brian's souls, and he's like, you think she was working with someone else? And on the next page, and he's like,
an accomplice. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, he's grilling him, and then he's like, my eye does work. And he's like, what's that supposed to mean? Because like,
right, it's a lie detector.
It's a lie detector, yeah. And
which
so
is
kind of like,
you got to be on the ball. You got to be watching this. You got to be reading the whole series. It's not holding your hand, but you can catch as catch can. I really like this silhouette first panel, especially like the way Joe and Bernie are in like perfect tandem with that negative space
on the white.
Yeah, that's really fantastic.
Yeah. And Brian's like saying that goddamn eye, like, he's focusing on it, and it's like the red like tinge of everything that Brian is like seeing red, and then it's I don't know, it's like red is this
later on he'll say it's odd that the color red now is cold. I've never experienced red and coldness, but when I look at him, that's what you'll notice on this page. There's two different types of gradient fades going on. There's this one in the snow that has kind of like
right.
I described it as a basket weave, but it's really more like
what's it called, pointillism, or
like a screen tone pattern,
like a
like a screen gradient. And then there's another one that's sort of smoother, and that the first one like is on the snow all over the place. I asked Joe about an hour ago what the story was. He said the fade effect was just me giving instruction on my colored Xeroxes to make a fade here. The basket weave effect was unintended; it just came out that way, and probably in Dark Horse it might look more like pronounced because of the moire and the scanning and all that.
Hey, it looks pretty good actually.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's a little foggier.
So it's funny that like those, the Murphy Anderson service is able to be like, okay, there's the note, there's the code, there's the note, we'll do a fade. That's very risky because it's like you don't know what you're gonna get, but they all look really cool. So much so to the point that when I was looking at them originally, I thought this book was Blue Line.
Was Blue Line? I remember
because I thought that he was getting that effect by like doing a rubbing, like you've got those plates.
Oh yeah.
I thought he was doing something. It was something
interesting, something behind
but it's something
there.
mechanical. Yeah.
So then he's just continuing to grill him down,
Yeah, the Grendel voice just like wants Wiggins dead now.
It's interesting on the page before that the Grendel voice goes under like that gutter. We usually don't see a gutter on that.
Yes. Yeah, this page on the left, it's a 6-panel grid, except only 2 of the panels are sized to the grid. Panels 2 and 3. Everything else has this weird negative space, or is chopped up, or is subdivided, or something like that.
Just great.
I like this. I like this drawing of Wiggins a lot.
Which one?
The panel 6
on the
last
page.
panel. He's smiling. Yeah. An accomplice. He looks very. He looks cool. I don't know. I don't know where exactly the queer coding on Wiggins is like coming to me, but like that's like all I've seen is that he's this like bohemian, like kind of like a bohemian lush who will do the world is his oyster.
It seems
he'll do whatever. He'll take his pleasures any way he damn well chooses.
All right, so now he's grilling him for some leads, and then we turn the page, and he's also like, oh yeah, and we just searched your entire apartment. We ripped it apart. And he's like, what? My apartment?
Fuck yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, like we don't need any type of anything. Like it's the Grendel case. It's high priority, so we have entry wherever.
Yeah, I think that what I read into this is that COP is really operating on a much more like authoritarian level than your standard police.
Yeah, they just do whatever they want.
And that they've replaced the police.
Yes.
Yeah.
With like a tighter grip, on everything that it needs to be. Maybe we're getting there in our own worlds, but you
see the Bernieism in the beginning and end of this page, the weird division symbol or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think that is the lie detector beep beep beep, reading.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
that's how I read that.
That's really cool. All right, so he's like, oh yeah, you worried? You worried that they're gonna be in your house? And he's like, whatever, no, I don't freaking fucking care. And he's
There's
like,
nothing there. He buried everything. It's probably in his backpack or, buried in Central Park.
I like too that Wiggins says like, oh, it's just some Bernie G thinking he's Grendel again. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Just like,
That's Bernie Getz.
oh,
Not Bernie Jean, the
Oh,
low-level pornographer and pedophile.
yes.
based on famed artist.
So who's Bernie G? So what's
Bernie Getz was like a taxi driver, Travis Bickle, vigilante.
Oh,
I've had enough of this city. I think he stabbed someone on the train or something like that. This was like
interesting.
1983, something like that.
Nice. So
just a New York City lunatic.
wow, good pull, dude.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so next page, like he keeps grilling him, and he just keeps grilling him, and like he's like, Christ, like you're not all tech, Jesus, you in that fucking eye, and he's like, works, here's where he says that, yeah. He's like, gee, meaning just what the hell, what? Meaning just the hell, what?
I love this drawing in panel 3 of his sunglasses.
Oh yeah, like the shine on it, the blue.
Yeah, the heavy black line and then blue and red. Because the colors are opposing, and then there's heavy black, and that really
when it almost is like the red of his eye, like reflecting back.
It just pops really hard.
Yeah,
I like.
He's like,
all right.
Yeah, he's like, whatever, go find my apartment. Yeah, you ain't gonna do shit. I'm out of here. And he's like,
my shitty place.
and like the blasé-ness of Wiggins with just puffing the pipe. He just walks with his head up, not a freaking care in the world.
Yeah, well, I think. Maybe part of the subtext here is that having survived the Christine Spar debacle, he's sort of like, he can kind of like, he came out on top of that. Right. Argent didn't even survive that.
Right. And he's already lived with Argent. What else could possibly be worse than Argent?
Yeah. It seems like even though he wears his badge, I feel like he wears his badge on outside just for like comic book character design. Like he doesn't need to be. He's a detective,
he would barely be wearing it.
He can wear anything.
He might have it on. Yeah.
Right. His thing.
Like a necklace, like Peralta in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where it's just like what? Yeah. All right. So then he busts in, and again, like here's Brian not taking shit again. He slaps the dude, the Securo guy's feet off the table, and he's like, "Get your goddamn feet. This isn't a couch." I
really like how he says, "And get your feet off the couch." So it's like he said something before, but we're not privy to whatever it was.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Really cool.
And
I wonder. And we didn't ask this. And Matt always says that if he's gonna have someone else drawing the stories, he might as well give them the agency. He should give them. He feels guilty not giving them the agency of plot and script.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're going to write a full script, you might as well just draw it yourself. But this is so complex that I kind of feel like this is probably full script. There's so much. It's firing on so many cylinders, and it's so tight.
But if they were like, living or occupying a same space at the time, that's a whole different thing, right. Where Matt can write something, he can draw something, he can just, Bernie can ask like, is this way, that way? And they can, work as a amoebic form.
One of the things that the 14-year-old Panda brothers did occasionally was not, there were just like sometimes where Matt would script something that didn't really seem like that's what the characters were saying, thinking, or feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That issue, which was rare, is nowhere. I mean, it's gone.
Not at all. I mean, it's so like spot. Like Brian is like, exactly what he's up to. Or his motivations are clear. And it's, if it's not revenge, it's like downward spiral. And the next page, he's just continuing. Though it looks like he's like taking off his like heat belt. Remember, one guy's like
heating belt.
Yeah,
it's a very like retro sci-fi.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, his Cali blood. It's too cold for him out here. All right, so then the lady from the last issue who, when they were watching the production, was kind of like being shitty, is like coming over to say she's sorry, and he's just like, eat it, Katie.
Fuck it.
Fuck out of here. And she's like, oh yeah, great working with you too. And now like, okay, we see him, like in this circle, kind of like
he's jamming out.
Right. And he's kind of like, oh, do you mean like the jamming out? Okay, yeah, got it. But then in the next panel, he pulls his glasses down and his eyes are red.
Yeah, really.
Again, he's seeing red. He's being taken, fully by this force.
Yeah. And the actor, the cocaine kids in the hallway are still at it.
Yeah.
And they're talking about Meryl Streep.
Right, yeah. And
it's 1987 when this book is made, and here we are 35 years later, still talking about Meryl Streep.
She's still kicking. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Probably more now than we were then.
Yeah, probably. Dude, and this move, he just grabs these kids. He's like, hi, kids. Hi, kids. Bye, hi. Boom, and just blows, their gram off the table, off this little glass piece, and they're just like,
yeah,
they melt.
The white spatter is really cool.
So good, yeah.
That must be on top of something. Maybe that might be on top of the. Might be on top of the acetate.
Dude, the detail in the guy's face too, like the spiral, the kind of like maybe Peter Max or like 60s psychedelia of like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Love
this panel.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, Jesus. And he's like, all right, guys, and they're like, Brian, the coat, you, and then and they're all pissed off. Like, who the hell do you think you are? And he's like, you really want to know? And he takes his sweatshirt off. He's Superman. Oh,
I didn't even realize that. This
that's great.
This Superman logo is like, I like how it's. First of all, I love that they just use a Superman logo.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's like, fuck it. Like, let's just I love when older comics would just refer to Darth Vader, Godzilla, Superman.
Yeah, I love it.
And it's like they don't own that. It's like, well, you can talk. It's sort of like not public domain. Fair use
I think it is falls under that or something.
You can just like talk about it anyway. But
right.
I like
you can't say Superman or call him like, call him a piece of shit or something. But if someone's just wearing the shirt, that's completely different.
Man, how's that new issue of Superman? That fucking sucks. Don't buy it.
Yeah, exactly. He's a Nazi or something. Then they might get after you. But
I like how the shield is slightly off model. It's very charming. Yes. And also that it's a tank top.
Well, it's like a what do they call it? Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, yeah.
And so the Tom Waitesian Grendel voice, and of course the truest weapon is oneself. All else extension. And really, I guess that the target doesn't actually matter.
As long as someone gets killed.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who.
The truest weapon is oneself.
Yeah, but as long as that weapon can be used aggressively, and the spirit will be satisfied.
Next page 2. I mean, we kind of just continue. He always seems to check in with this guy, the props guy, and he's like, "You forgot to leave the key." He was like, "I'm sorry, I was here late. Whatever, no big deal. The owner's coming." He's like,
look at that fade.
Then he's like,
fade behind Ridley, yellow and green.
Oh yeah. Oh, and it's got the like dot. The
very, very cool.
Yeah, that's great. And then this is like, it dawns on him that something's missing from this room. Something that the reason why he came to the room really, and why he keeps coming back, it's not to talk to this freaking dolt. It's the mask. Where's the mask? Where's the Japanese mask? And he's like, oh, that shit. Oh, I traded it to another department for this and that. And he's just like, oh, okay. And so this catalyst thing is kind of like gone now.
I really like how in panel 4, Joe lightens up the Superman logo a little bit as BLS is hit with the realization, a little bit of illumination on it.
Yeah. Really,
really cool. Very subtle, very cool.
And there's like a little bit of plate slippage there too, I would think. Like there's a couple colors. They're out in the Dark Horse, but there's like some yellow and pink and stuff that you can kind of see, like
right by the end of the burst.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so he's just like, the terror continues to strike down its enemies one by one. On the next page, he's just like, all right, I'm out of here. And then we see Brian, again, head in his own, like, darkness, and he's staring.
Yeah.
And this little, like, a roach scuttles by.
That's the nail where the mask used to hang.
Exactly. Right. And now all
Really
the thing that's
panel.
there is the disgusting creatures of New York.
Yeah, there's like a little red spot on it in the last panel. It kind of matches with the skull and crossbones.
Oh yeah.
I was just kind of like mesmerized by that.
Dude, this is interesting too. It's like, it proves how utterly fruitless I am. How utterly powerless it thinks I am to stop it. It sees my hands as clay and my will as glass.
Yeah.
Like
later on, he talks about, what if I cut off my hands? I wouldn't be able to be the weapon for this thing. And he goes, fuck it. I know who I am.
Yeah. It's insane. All right. So then next page, he's like, okay, so he's thinking, previously on the page, he's like,
the Grendel text at the bottom is wild too, by the way.
And therefore a target, shoot him down, just shoot him down. Right. Okay. So now they're like,
and everyone's an enemy, it says also.
Right. Kill those. And he starts to follow, he needs to follow Wiggins. And right in between him and Wiggins is it looks like a mix of like IG-88 and what's that other guy? Dune something, the other bounty hunter.
Forlom?
It might be Forlom.
Dengar.
Dengar, yeah.
The one who wears a diaper, yes.
Yeah, on his head, yeah.
Yeah, these panels are crazy because it's the really heavy-handed ones they just look like something else. Look like
it looks like they actually zoomed in or something.
It looks like they blew up a photocopy or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like Torpedo. You know Torpedo?
Mm-mm.
It's like a crime, like a European crime thing. I'm not sure. Anyway, very, very cool. I like how he's holding the rose. Actually,
yes. He buys it from the lady.
This is a photocopy.
Oh, it's exactly the
Close
same.
up of the rose is it's a recolored photocopy of.
Because he says he's like flirting with women on the street, and he does this like he relishes the crowd. He just kind of floats along like there's nothing. But then when he's back in his house, he's kind of like bored.
He's been just casing Wiggins a lot.
Right. Yeah, and it's like 12/21, 12/23, 12/24.
And so
it's like he spent a week maybe.
He's in the building across the street looking at him.
I love this fucking this close up on him, man. It's one of a kind.
With the mushy head.
Yeah, I think that's it. Time for the man with the eye to fall down. Next page, we get a shot of the cop central. Looks kind of like Rockefeller Center or something.
It's really cool. The fades on that building are
really cool.
It's like how this is where I was thinking like, well, you tell them to fade it, and then whatever they send back that's what you get. Yeah. I like the lighting fixtures outside, these like kind of like spiral globe lights. Because I really like that in panel 2. Then they just push in on that detail. And Joe does a really nice job kind of with 2 different color yellows.
This is one where they added a bunch of detail in that top thing in the Dark Horse. They put in a bunch of stars around the moon and stuff and changed the sky color a bit.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So then, all right. So, Wiggins gets in this like. I
mean, on this one, and this is Dark Horse. You can really see that it's darker because of that's the best they can make it look.
Yeah. So Wiggins gets in this crazy cab that looks kind of like a submarine or something like that. And he's following him. Brian's following him. Ooh, we turn the page. Hey, we get this great Space Ghost ad.
Yeah, what do you think a 48-page square-bound Space Ghost one-shot? You think it's good?
Yeah, I have it, I think.
You have it? All right, cool. It's what a team.
It's Steve Rude. Dude, Mark Evanier, Ken Stacey again. It's a good book. All right, so we're back. I'm armed and veiled So he's getting in. He's ready to get into this very cool, very well designed taxi. Again, this super cool detail on the shading. Brian's like got these different like Green Arrow style arrows. He's got the Blastex 302 that he's ready to use. Clips this thing on there, and this is just, it's getting good. So the submarine cab takes off. Brian's like chilling up there, haven't yet decided, huh?
We've got that crosshair.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. That's like
right?
we're in Brian vision here.
And then I think they'll use it again later on in the park.
All right. Next page. It takes off, and then Wiggins is just continually smoking, blowing some rings, and here's a pop, and then a boom, a little bit of a boom, and Brian runs away, and he's like, it didn't do enough just yet. Depends on what opportunities present themselves. A bang up the ass, maybe.
Yeah, that
maybe.
was weird.
So that's kind of what he did. He's like tormenting him. He just put a little.
I thought he was saying you can rape Wiggins. I had no idea. And
I think it's more like up the tailpipe, up your nose with a rubber hose type of deal. Kind of like.
Did you think that the explosive, it's a dud, or it was never very powerful to begin with?
I just think that, and this is kind of something I've said before, is Brian is
Brian's
not like
an
a full Grendel.
Yeah.
He's not Grendel. He's not a master of, kung fu. He's not agile. He's doing these things, but he's kind of like,
he's a Grendel by convenience.
Well, yeah, by madness, by vicinity,
Mm-hmm.
And so he thinks he has these grand plans, but again, like he's being used, and he's kind of like a child at the game of Grendel.
Look at Bobby P in the lower right.
Cutting that last I am off.
Yeah, dude.
Sick.
Yes, I do. I don't want to do this. Yes, I do. Don't I? Aren't I? Am I? Tear. I am. Really cool.
All right, next page is still going. And Brian's kind of writing about how he's like, it's getting more real. It's getting like, he's feeling the sweat drip underneath his stuff, and he's struggling for the right words. He's like, do I need my thesaurus? Like, what he's like, what am I ready for this? Am I doing it right? Like, as Wiggins lands at La Bobo, and then he goes back and he kind of sees that like there was an explosion of some sort. There's like dust from the explosion. He like fingers it and smells it, and he's a detective. He knows. So he's looking
panel with the heavy shadow.
I agree.
Really cool.
Very Bernie.
Yeah.
And so he smells it, and then he kind of goes in, and that's when you see like Brian misses again. This arrow goes through the window, through the curtains, right as he's going in. He's like, shit. And it kind of plunks down the street. This dude's dog like goes after it.
Yeah,
really interesting.
You can hear it clattering, and all that stuff.
Exactly. As the dog.
There's a poster for an REM tour from
Not dead yet. Yeah, from 15 years ago or something, right? 07.
That's one of those details. Like they're talking. They've done it twice here. They talk about Meryl Streep and Phil Donahue, and they'll talk about figures from the 80s but place them in the future.
Yeah.
And the literary effect for me is that it just like it becomes a metaphor that like this is the 80s, but it's through this like kind of science fiction lens.
It's like the future of the 80s, like how Doc Brown's like it's now skewed. It's the future of this 1955 or whatever, So it's like the future of the 80s.
Very cool. All right.
Next page. Okay, so he's going into La Bobo's here.
That's a strip joint.
Yep. And this next panel, is beautiful. What I see as like the drunken atmosphere and music in the air, so it's like almost like these scales with like the notes kind of like opening up, but also they're like the bubbles of like the drunks, and how they showed it in comics. I just really like this panel, man. It's amazing. Smoke
and lights and all this stuff.
Exactly. All that stuff mixing together.
Yeah, Joe does a really nice job with the atmosphere on this. I really like the beer tap is colored really well.
Yeah,
I know that's a weird compliment.
I like what he's drinking out of. It strikes me as like it's a cylinder with like a circle on top, and it's got like a straw, like maybe something bubbles up from. It's like
this. It's like the weed pipes in Watchmen, the cigarette holders that the cylinders that screw off. And
Oh yeah.
that's what it looks like.
It's just cool. It's cool. Yeah, super cool. I love this shit.
Yeah,
okay,
so he's getting a little faded.
He's getting a little faded, but then he sees the shadow. I think he sees the shadow in the mirror that's behind the bar.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't notice that.
And then
it's a little weird because I get maybe BLS took off his mask, which doesn't seem like something
because of the shadow and the hair. Like maybe to get in, he had to take his mask off or something. Okay. Yes, he must know, must see his whole death with half his eye. Okay, and so he got a little tipsy there. He's coming out.
Very poetic BLS.
Yeah. Next page. He's continuing. He decides to walk home, I think. And now Brian's got a car. Ha! I get a real kick out of this host. Now, this is something I screen grabbed and sent to you because this is, this again, like this is
confirmation.
Like for Brian, it becomes something more, so much more. And again, like though Matt, as Matt says, like, is this force, or is this just Brian's internal monologue personifying as this thing that he's created in his, like, again, okay, because he sees Christine as this amazing woman. She could never do this thing. She could never kill and become this. So the only way she could do this is if something was inside of her, something was doing this. And so then he personifies that in his, craziness, in his downfall, to put the blame on something else the way he wants to for Christine. All right. So then, and I think this is an interesting move by Wiggins, where he kind of puts a bystander in between him and his perceived betrayal, And so then that comes in, Brian swerves because he doesn't want to kill this, innocent. And then that person's like, "You crazy fucking bastard." And Wiggins is like, puff, puff.
Yeah. I love how the word fucking is partially obscured by the gutter. That's fantastic. But this whole layout, everyone's working together really well. Joe, Matt, Bernie,
Matt,
Bob,
Bernie,
everybody.
Bob. Yeah.
But like the layout is like especially the little panels is like very, very Bernie.
Yeah. And again, reading it, with that guided view really worked well for the way that the panels are done on this, and helped me kind of zoom in on the shit. Like you saying, you didn't see the reflection, and that was like, man, that was honing right in for me. Skip right past the hype page. This is too much action.
Too much hype.
Okay, so Wiggins is like, being the cheeky bastard he is leading him back to Central Park. Now, under the auspice of maybe like investigating the case a little bit more, the recent murder, but like, I also think it's a little bit like, let's take it back to where, this nexus of the Grendelverse, like Central Park is where all the shit happens.
Yeah. I'm just seeing now that you can see the silhouette of the car pulling up and Brian getting out of the car. But I do like this panel of Brian kind of like Naruto running into Central Park.
Right. Kind of like moving from one shadow to the next.
Really,
as Wiggins is just like knowingly leading him.
Yeah. And Joe does a nice job with the red fade.
Very nice.
That's really, really cool.
Now that he knows, he struggles as the others did not.
Yeah. He wouldn't let me. My butt is after all still plastered to the chair. It left me. Oh God, I can't read this. The chair it left me in when it closed its eyes. No, nothing so drastic. I'm not allowed. I must gather my will and its remnants. Then for the thrust and lunge, for their deflection, I must learn to gaze. I must learn to gaze on in mute. Oh God, in muted horror till the moment of striking stands poised. Then I lash out. Then I pull back, deter, distracted, confounded. He is batshit.
I know, and like, and Grendel's voice, he feels it's like coming through him. And remember, he remarked before that he would find his writings from the night before and not remember writing it. So, and he's in one of those points. Seeks to foul up the works. Ha! One more arrow fires. Wiggins bends over and it just whizzes right over his head. And this is another great panel as you see it go out over the lake, down, and then bloop, ploops right in.
Nice,
This
nice
is
and subtle.
This is masterful storytelling. This is each step up to this like point that we know is coming, but it's like they're holding it back from us. And this is goddamn the pacing.
Yeah.
So
and
cool.
Wiggins bends over to pick up a rock.
Yes. As BLS face palms.
Yeah, as he reacts to the whole thing.
Like,
I mean, I think when you said this is so good, my thought was, yeah, all the cause and effect and action and reaction stuff is perfect.
God,
When he does these like Brian in the trees, like this panel 1, all these Brian panels, they look like Dave Mazzucchelli drawings a little in a way.
like simple and refined
Uh-huh.
and like
And then Wiggins takes the rock and throws it into the body shaped snow.
Yeah.
Now there's no footprints.
There is no footprints,
which is kind of funny.
but there's also that really great fading again too. Like this shit is so cool looking.
Yeah. And this is where I was like, and look, it's like kind of zigzagged and all that. And it's just like, all right, fade from here to here, I guess. And then Murphy Anderson says, all right, do it this way. It'll look good.
So Wiggins is he hears a snap and a crackle and a pop behind him. He opens up his breast flap.
His Captain Kirk flap.
Definitely.
That's for you. You went to Star Trek, by the way, this week.
I did go to a Star Trek convention. I didn't even get to chat about that.
You didn't get a chance. Yeah, this is great. Him sitting in the tree.
Yep.
He while in between stalking, he's writing all this. I
Well,
mean,
also
he must
like
be writing it. He must be live streaming the journaling.
Yeah. He doesn't realize how little it matters, how little I care, how little his fragile little body means to me. Only a shell. I fear no respite. And okay, so this is kind of like Brian's like, his epitaph. Only the actuality of the deed is acute. The hand is the most vital organ. I have committed myself to its end. It's stopping or it's averting. He's ramping up here, dude. This whole fucking thing is ramping up. I yell in your face, watch your back, Grendel. Watch your sides. I understand you, and so my cause is affected. My effect caused. I'll unmask you and undo you. And if only I can stop this fiend. So now he's raging against not only himself, this inner turmoil, but this outer tormentor that, oh my God. And Wiggins is just like, boop, 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 boop. Yeah. But he's also pulling out his ray gun. Here's the other crosshair. Brian pulls the arrow back. Oh man, what's that? What's it called? The string. It's got a cool name. String. Yeah, it's got a cool name. But he pulls that back.
Knock your arrow.
Not the quiver. And anyway, the whatever. Okay, I'll put it in here in the thing. So he pulls it back. We see a vision of his last victim. We see the Chujiro mask, but with Wiggins's eye.
That's great. It took me a second to see it. That's a great effect. So all villains, anyone that would interfere or in any way
is all in one.
Although Argent isn't really here. I don't know.
Oh, that's true. We see Brian's eye, and then we see God, this fucking spread. And Brian's like, Wiggins is like, you asshole. He gets his thing back.
Yeah,
he just fires one.
Yeah, how wordy everything is, and then this spread, it just lets it breathe, asshole. And then the next spread's incredible too.
Just one shot is all he needed. These squares of action and flint and whatever, and then Brian is just out of the tree silently into the night. His arrow flies and goes right into the tree where there's an arrow with a heart with an arrow through it, perhaps carved by Hunter and Stacy.
I feel like this. Yeah, I guess so. I think this arrow might because the police would have collected it for evidence. Yes, you're right. It lands in the tree. I love this one of him flying backwards. It's
beautiful. It's like
coolest panel. Yeah, it looks.
Oh my gosh,
it's so simple and it's so effective.
Another one of those like heart beating in a film.
Mm-hmm.
The heartbeat, and then it comes up. Everything's red. You see the shot goes black again. Heartbeat again, and you see just this like silhouette, like
Mm-hmm.
shit, man. And then on the next page, we see the spread out. Brian Lee Sung, the dearly departed third host.
Then I'm not afraid to die, for I shall live forever. Yep.
Damn.
That's pretty much it.
Bernie Mirault, 1987.
We have not gotten too much into the letter columns in the past. We probably should, but it's too much work to skip ahead 4 issues to go back.
Yeah.
There's a letter here from Jamie S. Rich. There's a bunch of letters here
You're right.
talking about how there should not be letters.
Yeah.
Someone says like it's having the letters and the house ads takes me out of the story. It's almost as if I was watching a movie in the theater and then Siskel and Ebert would show up and tell me what like
Yeah.
And I said, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then Diana says, well, luckily for you, the next 4 issues are going to be 32 pages of story. No letters, no ads, no blimp, no hype page. Nice. True novel experience. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. The Dark Horse actually comments because the Dark Horse book actually came out in November 2001. So, 9/11 is like still fresh on people's minds and some of the letters are commenting about that. So that's like, really places the re-release of this very dark story, in a time and a place.
Yeah. The dystopian fiction in the beginning of the dystopia. Great.
Another interesting thing is that, was there anything else for the Kimiko?
No, I mean, there's that satin jacket ad, and then There's a preview of issue 16 with a cover I don't think I've ever seen. It's like a bunch of diamonds and money. I've never seen that.
And it's interesting because as Grendel returned as a backup in Mage, we have Mage backups that are showing up in these.
Oh, right, that's right. What we didn't talk about is this cover.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it's another amazing painting by the guys.
So is that a real tree branch or a painting of a tree branch?
Right. I'm guessing real, man.
You think it's real? And then is the shadow real or did they paint the shadow? That's the part that really
that's what's
my fucking noodle.
I bet you it's real in the real shadow.
Oh, it's so crazy. It's so Dave McKean.
Oof.
Yeah, it must be.
It's cool too because in the Dark Horse, they didn't reprint everything at first because next it says War Child is next. War Child is back in print as of next month. So they didn't do God and the Devil. They didn't do these Lost Years Grendel Classics, I think they call it in the collected trade.
So this is a trade. This is a trade of War Child.
Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's the Devil. There's the Grendel Classics. The next 4 issues did get
right. That's what collects that. And then in the Dark Horse, there's a really cool thing about San Diego Comic-Con and a little bit of spread. We've got Brian Michael Bendis. We have Diana meeting all these different things. We have Will Eisner, Dave Gibbons. And this is interesting. She says, my 2 handsome escorts to the premiere of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which must have premiered at San Diego Comic-Con. Chilling with the heads of graffiti designs.
Oh, that's cool.
And then also a cool ad for a remastered trade of Devil's Legacy.
Hey, it's Shannon Wheeler.
That's right. Yeah, the Too Much Coffee Man's own. And interesting, Will Eisner and Pulitzer Prize winner Michael Chabon, who would go on to write Picard Season 1, Star Trek. Love it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was really cool.
I think the thing that stands out here is who's sitting between Eisner and Sergio?
Oh, I think they said Dennis Kitchen, Will Eisner, Dennis Kitchen, Sergio Aragonés.
The thing that stands out is like how young, thin, and handsome Bendis looks.
Right?
Look at that smile.
In his prime, dude.
Yeah, he's looking great.
Oh yeah, they went to LA for the Westwood premiere of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back at the invitation of director Kevin Smith. I owe you, buddy, big time.
There you go.
Not to mention a hilarious movie starring the handsome Jason Mewes and the handsome Kevin himself. Featured cameos from two of my favorite people in the world, the Bobs, Shrek and Chapman. What a wonderful summer I was blessed to have. Thank you.
Where's
Thanks,
Bob Shrek's cameo?
I think that. Oh, I don't know exactly, man. I can't remember.
I don't remember anything about that movie.
I can't remember. I think they're at a diner or something. I was thinking they were in the church with Jim Mahfood, but that's Dogma.
Oh, I didn't know Jim has a cameo in Dogma.
Yeah, dude. For like a second, sitting right behind.
I haven't seen these movies in like 20
Linda Fiorentino. Oh yeah, it's been a while for me. All right, dude, and another amazing week, and we're really embarking on like super interesting issues coming up in the next few episodes. They're non like singular Grendel based. Mm-hmm. They're based on Grendel growing into what it will become for like the rest of our thing. So we are truly at the end of a time in Grendel. So the end of Brian Lee Sung is truly a drastic change in the form of Grendel until we get to Epi Thatcher.
It's crazy how it's a 62 episodes, and we're finally at that point. And it was funny. I was thinking because like there's a lot of things that we've done that are very long. Devil's Legacy, obviously. This one's very short.
Right.
I think like we've only done something this short, like Silverback.
Oh, true.
And like the Tony McMillan Batman.
Right.
Episodes.
Like we spend a lot more time with the characters than we get with Brian. And that's what I think makes him a favorite of a lot of people. And also clearly the most tragic of all Grendels. Mm-hmm. Like everyone else, takes it up and is like, ready to go for it or using it to strike fear like Epi does. But Brian is kind of like swept up in the frenetic, like
there's no werewolves or vampires in this one.
That's true. Yeah,
super.
The terror,
the flying cars. Yeah, that's the supernatural.
Yeah, and we're going to focus on Wiggins for the next couple issues too. So that's going to be cool. Yeah,
I've never read this one. I haven't read anything from this point until God and the Devil.
Interesting. So that's going to be it's going to be very cool to get into. It's some very interesting stuff. And I think the next two issues are both Matt centric or both Matt drawn and written by Matt. So that's cool.
Maybe the next four?
All the ones that are collected in the like Grendel classics. What is it? Like 17 through 21.
16
through 21.
16 through 19.
Yes. Okay.
And I think that 21 through 23 is Hannibal King and Tim Sale.
That's like, okay, cool.
That's the meme one. That's the one. That's with Omnicore.
Right.
I did read one of those, and it was fucking amazing. I can't wait.
Hell yes! All right, dude. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We definitely are. We're psyched. We can't wait into it. Thanks for everyone for joining us again. Hit up those 5-star reviews. Get yourself one of the Grendel zines. If you don't know how to get one of the Grendel zines or you're confused, just email me, Eli@CosmicLionProductions.com, or drop something in the comments on our YouTube and I'll help you get one because you're not going to want to miss them.
If you get confused, listen to the music
play, baby. Later on.